is there anything you shouldn't say to a therapist?
I feel like most people may not, if depending on whether the people watching this have been to therapy or not, they might not even know what the scenario and the setting looks like and what the conversation might be like. But therapists are humans too. They are people just like you, and it's a very emotionally taxing field, I would say. You might get a lot of compassion. The therapist might get a lot of compassion fatigue from constantly supporting people. And so just treat them with as much respect as you would give anyone else. You wouldn't snap at someone for not getting like, it's understandable that if you're frustrated and you feel like the other person isn't getting what you're saying or they're not saying the right things, that you would be upset or frustrated, but that does not excuse you saying, you're dumb, you're not helping me, you're just saying the same things my parents say, or like don't burn over, like, just don't explode at them. There you go. They're human too. So treat them with as much respect and kindness that you would give, especially the fact that if there's someone you're going to for the first time or recently, they're still probably a relative stranger to you in a way, right? So you wouldn't go off on a stranger, much less your closest friends. So don't be rude in general.
That is true. They would have it pretty hard because technically, for all you know, every single of their client on that day could have been pretty angry because of the issues that they came with. And sometimes it's very easy to project your feelings towards the matter on them because they're the one who are trying to unravel it. So it's a very good point. Sia?
Yeah, that was such an interesting point because I think it's about expectation management, and it also speaks to like taking responsibility as a customer. You know how we say like caveat emptor, like buyer beware. I feel like a lot of people expect therapy to be something where they sit down and like someone has the solutions for everything and they're going to, solve your existential crisis for you or fix a lot of the things, when it's truly that they're, most of the times it's that they're just creating the space for you to get there on your own. So Ilakkiya made such a good point about, their own limitations as a human being. In doing that, sometimes a lot of, I almost would encourage, I've heard this to be good practice, is that if you find yourself talking to a therapist, talk about those expectations upfront, as you would say if you were buying a car, or you were starting a new class or something, where you would ask, what about this, what about that, is there something that I shouldn't talk about, is there something that I should present as a hypothetical first, what are your boundaries with that? Or I used to be super worried that if I come in with something heavy and my therapist might get taxed about it, I just brought it up to them and I said, hey, I kind of worry about overloading you sometimes. How do we work through it? And then they said, I will tell you, I promise you, I'll be honest with you, if I need to take a pause or if I need to take a moment or we need to talk about it later, I'll let you know. So take agency for that two-way relationship. Don't just go in there and like expect the therapist to know everything and solve everything.
You bring up two very important points. One is like the expectations, which is something I didn't really think about, but talking about it is very good because there's also the fact that therapists can't. Most therapists won't give you any advice. As Sia said, they would just try to guide you to that and hope that you make the right choice. And the second one is, I would I never thought about the expectation, so I would actually assume that I would never have to think about overloading the therapist, because I would assume a therapist would have her or his own therapist to talk about those things, or maybe in a supervisor level, maybe there's someone there for them to vent about what happened, not in a way, still keeping it confidential, more about how they feel about it. And so I never had to think about them feeling overloaded. And in fact, I would say if the patient, for the lack of a better word, goes to a therapist and like hesitates to even share information because he or she thinks that this might overload the therapist, it would actually be like not as great a session as it could be. So I would rather strive for pushing some help for the therapist more in the work area than the patient doing something about it. And those are just my thoughts. Those are not professional opinions.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. That in an ideal world, the therapist is getting all the support they need. But if it is a thought that you have that is preventing you from being comfortable, then you should just talk about it. Is more of what I was getting at is, if you, I don't know why I was worried about that. It's not like my therapist was doing a bad job, but if you notice that there is some fear that you have, like, for example, will you go and tell somebody else this? Or if my parents call, are you obligated to tell them what I'm going through? Things like that that could get in the way of you building a connection. Just ask them. They will probably, not probably, they have to be honest with you and let you know what their boundaries and their like legal requirements are.
That is very true. In most cases, this is actually like a big thing where people are afraid of like what they might tell their parents or other people, but like parents are usually the problem. No, parents are not the problem. They are afraid that the therapist should tell something to the parent, and they're afraid of that. And it's very important that you should ask someone instead of assuming they probably would tell the parent. Okay, let's go to the next. Okay, Ilakkiya.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of reinforce something that Sia said, where the therapist kind of ask you the questions to help you come to a space, or sorry, they give you the space to think through your own thoughts so you can come to conclusions about things. And I think it's important that you don't go into therapy and try to think that I will push all my issues onto my therapist and then they will solve them for me and give me the solution. But you have to go into therapy wanting change, wanting to work for it, because it won't be easy and you have to think on your own. You have to think through your thoughts and you have to be willing to do that. You can't just speak all your issues, the therapist gives you a solution, you don't work on it, and nothing changes, and now it's not the therapist's fault, right? So like take some responsibility for working through your issues on your own outside of therapy as well. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
That is pretty important.
Thanks for watching. For more discussions, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Also, make sure to like and comment more topics that you'd like to see us discuss. We'll see you next time.